This interview with KAYTLYN Poole was quite interesting. An individual who's got 12,000 followers on Instagram and, would you believe it, 150,000 followers on TikTok. We talked, among all things, her affiliation with Mac Fitness, as she is sponsored by them, as well as some of the things that she likes to do, especially around this COVID-19 time period. She's an individual who's been training now for 9 years and has quite a different set of passions as well in what she follows. Sort of talked about her beginnings in Byron Bay, as well as some messages that she wanted to share across as well, as part of sort of the Mere Mortals. And we got into a pretty interesting conversation right at the beginning around the Mere Mortal moment of the week, especially just giving her background and some of the experiences that she actually goes through and explains. So hope you enjoy. Leave a comment, leave a review, and everything in between. And now to the episode. Well, if you don't get that back to normal, my mate's just going to be like, what have you done to my...
Oh, yes!
Oh, there you go.
No worries.
Look at that. We're going to begin...
That's so complicated.
We're going to begin the podcast with that. So
No.
I'll do a little spill anyways before this comes around anyways. But KAYTLYN, thank you for joining Mere Mortals. So it's the first couple of interviews that we're going to be doing. I've got a couple of stuff here that I actually ended up going through and finding about you. But there's not too much that I can actually go through. So
oh, interesting.
I'll
like,
go.
what?
Well, yeah. Well, it's
Dug
actually...
dirt on.
It's actually interesting to find how many things you can find about people just by like doing a quick Google.
It is.
Like you go through and you're like, what footprint you leave in the world.
I literally do that every second.
Oh, do you?
I swear to God, I Google my own name just to see what pops up.
What's the number one thing that sometimes comes up?
Just like random selfies. Oh, and also like they'll spell my name like they'll try to autocorrect my name, so it'll come up with like other girls' profiles, and I'm like, oh,
the first name, the KAYTLYN.
Yeah, like KAYTLYN.
And you're like, no.
Yeah.
My name's actually this. If you check my TikTok, it's actually this name.
Yeah.
Look, normally what we begin with is what we call the Mere Mortal moment. Now, it's all about, do you have a moment you can share with us that over the last week that you were like, okay, that's what actually made me a mere mortal, like something you did wrong or something in that regard?
Oh. No. I do have weird things happen occasionally, but
Okay.
like not towards myself, it's more like other people, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Like people like approach me on the street, like this dude came up to me in a park when I was walking, like, because I was doing some exercise.
Yeah.
And then he was like randomly walking next to me. So I was like, okay, this is weird, because I was walking at a slow pace. So he made it evident that he was trying to like slow down to maybe walk next to me.
Yeah.
And then I went off into like this little Chinese garden, and he kept walking. But then 2 seconds later, he turned around like and you know came where I was, and I was like, oh, okay. So I go to pick this branch off this tree because I want to grow it. And then he was like, hey, you seen anyone? And I was like, oh, no. Like, and then I just thought to myself, I was like, that's a bit odd. And then like the next phrase, he was like, oh, you like fun? I was like, yeah, I like motorbike riding. I like horse riding, you know, like I do bodybuilding. And he was like,
oh, that's not what I meant.
Yeah. Obviously it's not what he meant, because the next phrase, he was like, oh, you like kissing? And I was like,
That is an interesting proposition. Was this during the day as well? Obviously, because you were training outside? Yeah, okay.
This was literally like midday. And I was just walking around this random park. And I just don't understand. Like,
I've always been interested by this because, and that's definitely a mere mortal moment, right? It's just like something where probably another individual approached you, and I would be in the mindset that I think there's a lot of people like yourself, and I'm sure if we ask the other Mac Fitness sort of athletes and that there sometimes would get approached like that. And I think there's a right way to do it, but that definitely sounds like that was just a weird, creepy, totally not the way to do it if you actually want to approach people.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my God, like, there's nothing wrong with going up to a person and be like, hey, how are you going? My name is KAYTLYN. Like, would you like to go for a coffee?
Yeah.
But I feel like people don't do that these days, or maybe they're too afraid or something, and I'm like...
Well, I feel like that's the other extreme. That's someone who's like maybe overly confident has gone like, all right, I'm going to go straight in for this just to see if it works out or not.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't know if it's going to go down that path.
I don't know how many times it has worked for that individual. So
There you go. Okay, well, look, give us a bit of a spiel, because even I don't really know. Now, we know each other from Mac Fitness, so that's sort of where I reached out to a lot of individuals to start talking to people just to see, having interviews and getting a bit of learnings from them. But you, give me 60 seconds. If someone asked you, you're at a dinner party, someone's asking you what you do in a day-to-day life, how would you reply? 60 seconds.
I'd be like, all right, I work full time. In my spare time, which takes up 99% of my life, I go to the gym and I'm a bodybuilder. Compete generally once a year. And then in my other spare time, I just motorbike ride, horse ride, try to catch up with friends, try to keep my family tight, and try to do some life progression things like I'm building a house at the moment.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And then I want to go traveling again, but after COVID ramps down, obviously.
So I'll touch on that. So you said you obviously bodybuilding, and you can obviously you can tell, and if you're looking at the camera, you can see that you are bodybuilding. You're still maintaining obviously your shape, even through this isolation times. Somewhat. We're all like that, right? We're all like that. It's like isolation hit, and we're kind of like
exactly
no gyms. What are we going to do? Like you were saying before, bicycle riding, whatever, running. Whatever you can actually get into.
Yeah.
Have you always been into gym and fitness, or was that something that sort of came about?
I feel like it's come about obviously in time, but I got first into it when I was 16, so I'm 25 now.
Okay.
That is about
9 years. That's a long time.
Yeah. So like I first started off small. I can remember like only being able to bench the bar. When I started, when I first rocked out of the gym, I didn't even know what I was doing. So I think I jumped on the treadmill for 10 minutes.
Yep.
I was on the bike for maybe 5 minutes because the bike's a little bit like more cardio. And then I'd go home and I'd be like, yeah, that was a great workout. But
how long did you do that for when you first began?
I think I was trying to go like 3 times a week, and I felt like amazing afterwards, but I didn't even know like how to eat for it as well. And then I guess over time it just developed. I wanted to become better at sports and stuff and look good and feel good. And each time I went, I was feeling good, but I didn't really know like how to get better in such a short amount of time.
Yep.
And then I remember like seeing this poster, and it was this girl in a bikini on stage, everyone's prize moment kind of thing, and she looked amazing. So I just wanted to capture that, I guess.
Cool. That's actually an interesting one when you say that, because I often wonder what's the pivotal moment where it makes someone go like, okay, I'm going to take it to the next level where you learn something and you're going to go through. So for you, it was sort of seeing that image and being like, okay, I think that's definitely like an inspiration to be like, okay, I'm going to learn perhaps better how to eat or whatnot, or actually target it. When you saw that image, was that when you sort of made up your mind on, okay, I'm going to do a competition?
Well, yeah, like I saw that and I was just like, I feel like it was in the back of my head because it wasn't till like a few years later where I was like, oh, like that'd be awesome, and actually like started, knowing how to do that.
Yeah.
But like I just remember looking at her and I was like, she looks amazing. Like I wish I could have a body like that. Like I want to be able to have a flat stomach and like be in a bikini and stuff, because that's something that I really haven't done in my life till that point. And then,
why do you think that you hadn't?
Oh, I don't know. I was really young.
Yeah, okay.
At the same time, and I feel like back in the day when I was growing up, like fitness like that wasn't that common, and I grew up around Byron Bay, so it's not like a really like.
Oh right, okay. So you were around Byron Bay area.
Yeah,
okay.
It's more like everyone surfed, everyone skated,
yeah.
And just laid on the beach half the time. Like fitness, bodybuilding is not really prominent, even
no,
now.
I wouldn't imagine. Yeah, even now.
Everyone just surfs, and there's more cardio rather than building muscle. So I don't know where that came from in me, but yeah, it's definitely just the gym environment, I guess. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things I was talking to some people at Mac Fitness was, and I think we might have spoken a little bit about this last year when I first met you, was around, fitness and training. Like some people will get into it and go, okay, well, it's going to be the bodybuilding side of things. And interesting, like, so my co-host, Karen, he began with a bit of gym training, but then all of a sudden now he just does like outdoor workouts and just does like body movements apart from anything else. Do you think that you've always been that sort of the gym goer, and now with COVID-19 and everything, given the fact we haven't been able to go to gyms, do you still see yourself continue to go back to the gym once it all opens up and you'll just continue down that path? You've sort of already set yourself in that sort of fitness mindset?
Yeah, I feel like that way. Like I've been waiting for it to open.
Yeah.
You know, like you have a little bit inside of you where you get excited every time you see restrictions ease a little bit.
Yeah.
But in that sense, I'm not hating the COVID life because you know it's got me more outdoors, and I still go adventuring because it's exercise, hiking and mountain bike riding, but I can't wait till I'm able to like lift properly. Yeah.
If anyone listening to, you know, if you're a gym goer, you understand what it's like to just lift some weights, do some squatting, you know, just use gym equipment. This morning I actually trained at a friend of mine's who has a little bit of a setup underneath their house and just squatting with a bit of weight. I was like, you know, I've enjoyed doing hiking and running around, but just that feeling, it's just like you can't really replace it. But if that's your thing, it's going to be, you know, something that you miss.
It's so interesting.
How did you feel just dealing with the whole isolation during COVID-19? Did you feel like you handled it quite easily?
Yeah, well, kind of. Like at first, maybe like the first week and a half, I was like, hang on, what do I do now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I knew that I could still go out walking, but I didn't know like if there was certain restrictions on like, say you can only go out 2 times a day, etc. Like, you know, I'm a very active individual, so I don't like to stay in one place for too long, and that's very hard.
Yeah.
When, you know,
you got restrictions all over.
House. Yeah.
Did you keep, like you say, you enjoy horse riding and motorbike riding and everything. Did you keep doing that through the COVID-19 period, or whatever you could be doing, or?
Well, like certain things, like they put travel restrictions on, so you can go surfing. Like I live more than an hour away from the beach, so you know certain activities were limited. I kept mountain bike riding. I didn't motorbike ride. I took my bike out to the shops once, to the grocery shops.
Right. Okay.
I could go to. That was 10 minutes.
You would feel a little bit like, oh man, I just want to get out and go and do some stuff.
Yeah. But I felt like I handled it, you know, very well. I tried to keep myself entertained. I found my love of like art and creativity during this stage.
Okay. What's one way that your mindset's opened up in the creativity space?
Oh, I did a mosaic and
Nice.
I started a veggie garden.
Yeah. Okay.
I did a DIY card and wrote it and addressed it to my nan as well.
Oh,
so,
very nice.
You know, it brings me closer to the people because obviously posting cards and stuff isn't that common these days with technology and whatever. You know, texting is a lot easier, but I feel like sometimes it's just nice to go to the post office and get a card.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because you know, where we live and the technology allows everything to be easy and communicate. Sure, fantastic. But then you feel like the effort that goes into a card or whatnot is then so much more valuable because it's like, well, you're giving up a lot of time to not just write this, but do the whole process. And then it means more for the individual that gets it at the end. Yeah. So is your nan also living in Byron Bay? Is that sort of where the family is? Or
she lives, Kingscliff. So
right, yep.
Just across the border. So all my family is in other states at the moment.
Yep.
So I just maybe FaceTime them and stuff and give them phone calls, but it's still not like you're there. The first thing that I'll do when these restrictions ease is maybe go down to Melbourne and see my very close family, like my brother, my mother. So yeah.
Oh, I think everyone's got some plans of either travel or going somewhere that they miss with all the restrictions sort of moving away. Yeah. I reckon I've got some points itching to be used to go somewhere.
A lot of exploring.
We actually originally we'd won 2 free flights to Japan with Virgin Australia, and through all this, obviously we couldn't go. But we're kind of hoping that's going to come available again so we can get down there.
You think they'll still be like available after
the whole
economy kind of?
Oh, look, the hope is there. I don't know how much, I wouldn't be calling like 90% confirmed. I reckon it'll be like 20% if we're really going to get it. So, but we'll see. I was going to ask you, so technology and a couple of the other things that I found, right? I was going through, what can I talk to KAYTLYN about? And I was looking through, obviously, social profiles, right? Get some information. And I came across, obviously, your Instagram. And it's, you've got a fair amount of followers and people can go and find you. And we'll ask you a little bit later so how people can actually go and find you if they don't know about you already. But then I came across your TikTok. Now, many people who might listen to this might know what TikTok is or might not. We sometimes post on there. It's, it's a thing that's growing. People can look historically where it came from. But I was so surprised to see, I went on there and I was like, wow, I can't believe how many followers KAYTLYN has on TikTok in comparison to like everywhere else. When did you actually first come upon the TikTok scene?
Oh, maybe just late January. I was away.
So recent. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like less than 3 months ago. I was away with work and I got really bored one day. So, and I was very limited to what I could do as well. It was kind of like COVID, but even worse.
Yep.
So I was stuck in one position, didn't have much time to go and do things besides work. So just, my friend had it and she was, doing all these cool things. And I was like, oh, what's that app, They were doing all these cool dances and I was like, that looks fun. So I just got it and I didn't want to do dances because I'm not a good dancer, but I started just posting like all these cool like action videos that I had laying around in my phone and like photos, videos and photos from when I was competing and stuff. And then, like it got a fair little bit of revenue within a week. I had like posted a motorbike video and it was 30 seconds. I wasn't doing anything like dangerous or anything. Like no worries, put some cool music with it and I got like 4 million like hits.
Yeah. And that, I was going to ask you this question because, so at a smaller scale, I remember, I think the third or fourth video I posted was just some birds flying around in Japan. And for me, I posted and I saw straight away it was like 10 times any post I'd ever done on Instagram or Facebook or any other social platform. Have you ever had any other posts hit like 4 million views or anything like that?
No.
In any other platform?
No.
Yeah.
No. I find TikTok is so much bigger. I'm not too sure why. But yeah, the amount of views and the amount of like likes on there is excessive.
Yeah.
It obviously a lot of people use it around the world.
Definitely.
Heaps of my followers are from like really interesting countries like Argentina and like USA, Turkey.
No. Well, that's what I was going to actually ask you because I've got a profile, but it's obviously way too small for it. Does it come a point when you've got enough followers that you can see a lot of those stats? Or do you have any extra stats that you see based on how many followers you have?
Oh, I'm not too sure because I can't see what you can see on yours.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it shows me like how many views I'm getting in a day, how many people are watching things, whether it grows or decreases and like what countries they're from, like if they're male, female. It's kind of like Instagram, their analytics there. And what's your most like best post or what's popping this week and like what you've posted or whatever, like what people are interested in, I guess. So
what's interesting about TikTok is, and everyone sees it, even 2 years ago or 1 year ago, people saw it as like, it's for little kids and it's for little kids dancing and it's for dancing. But now it's slowly transitioning to, you have a couple of actors on there. Oh, you've got like Jay-Z on there. You've got Timbaland on there. So it's starting to be like, now there's artists, there's people doing cinematography, all these sort of things, where it's a little bit how Instagram first grew. Instagram first grew as a photo app, essentially. So you could potentially see like in 2-3 years, it becomes sort of like that platform that Instagram is now, and having a pretty big following can then turn into like proper revenue that you can find from it. So it was good to see like how big of a following you had there. I was like, wow, okay, that's fairly huge.
Yeah,
so,
it's very interesting.
And you were saying as well that it's growing fairly rapidly as well on a day-on-day basis.
Yeah, like with little to no effort. And I'm surprised because I'm like, I've always been like that creative mindset.
Yeah.
And wanting to like put myself out there. I don't know why. I just have it in me. But yeah, I've never really got that much revenue off it. And then for some reason, people just like what I post. So it's good to know that people like seeing my adventures and stuff.
There you go. I've seen a couple of comments as well. So a lot of people who enjoy how you look and everything as well. So you're going to have like those sort of followers, but then a couple of comments as well. So people are like genuinely interacting with you. So it's not just like spam or bots, which is kind of nice to see. I want to go back because I haven't actually asked you both two questions. One, what do you actually do day to day? So like your normal life sort of work. But then asking you about your passion as well, because I'm sure fitness is probably one of them. But if there's any other passions as well that you have, and is it like aligned to what you're currently working, or is it something else that you're actually looking to go and do?
Okay. I also work for the government, and I have a pretty tough job. They can just tell me to work whenever and wherever.
Yep.
And send me places and stuff. So it's good. Get to go exploring sometimes, and I get paid like a nice money for it. But it gives me a lot of opportunities to meet people and everything.
Yep.
But sometimes it does drive me crazy. So at the end of the day, I just go home, and that's where like gym and stuff kind of like disconnects me from that kind of work life ratio. And it's also becomes part of my social life, especially when I compete. But yeah, I feel like that's why, you know, if I have a weekend, I want to go out and do things, because, you know, that's part of me, and I like having those opportunities in life. I feel like if you don't take them, then come 5 to 10 years later, you'll be like, oh, I'm too old to...
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you look back and kind of regret it, being like, oh, I didn't really go and do this or that, and you should have had the time for it.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, so I guess you do that for like a day-to-day sort of work living. Would you imagine yourself to continue to do that and sort of follow other passions on the side? Or do you have a mindset that you're like, okay, I'm doing that for now, but I actually want to go here in 5 years or something like that?
Yeah, well, like the job that I have recently, like I love it, but I do feel like sometimes the career progression isn't there. So I'm looking into other avenues. I want to study nutrition and dietetics, like, you know, inevitably. So hopefully next year I can do that with uni and stuff. And then, because I've always been obsessed with the fitness, especially in the last, say, 6 years, and nutrition and all the calculations and stuff. I'm really like, I love maths and learning about foods and what works for me, what works for other people, etc. Like, and people are always like, hey, like, you know, how can you help me? And like, I'm like, oh yeah.
I was just about to ask you that about, you know, you've been doing it now for 9 years. Do you have individuals now asking you like, oh, how did you do this? How did you do that? How can you eat for it? Yeah.
I do a lot, and like I find with friends, it's like I'm uncomfortable giving them like, you know, tips and stuff, because that's worked for me. It might work for them, like, but I'm not qualified to be able to do that yet. So like other individuals I can't really help with. So I'm just trying to like get that aspect of life, and I would love to be able to like travel, and do, you know, videos and like compete in bodybuilding and actually make it into something. You know, and have that flexibility in life where I'm in control of what I can do at any given time. So like I am looking into other avenues, like in terms of what I want to do eventually. Yeah.
That's good. It's always, you know, and it's no hate on people who, if they're in a position where they really enjoy life and they're doing what they want to be doing, awesome, keep on doing it. But it's often the case, like, and myself included and all of other people, you might be doing a day-to-day job, which I find it's awesome, it's great, you know, it's obviously paying the bills, it's meeting your basic needs of like living, getting your food in, whatever else. But then you have to have that other side of you, is like sort of the passion, the fire to being like, okay, I really want to get up and do this. Or it's what's getting you up in the morning and, you know, working a little bit harder to be like, okay, I want to be doing that a lot more. So for a lot of us, right, it's going to be sometimes fitness related, sometimes creative related, you know, whatever else in that sort of path. So interesting to hear that you do have that side of you as well.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of what I want to call quick fire questions.
Okay.
A couple of little questions. You don't have to answer them quickly either, though.
Okay.
So they're just quick fire in the way they are. Now, if you could post one thing to social media that everyone in the world would see at least once, right? What would it be? So everyone in the world gets to see it.
Damn.
What would it be?
Oh. If I could do a backflip, it'd be me doing a backflip.
Oh, really? Okay, there you go.
Random.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to do a backflip?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's on my to-do list though.
Nice.
Yeah. First I need to do a handstand, and then, you know, more cartwheels, and then the backflip will come. Yeah.
Okay. Why the backflip as opposed to a front flip? Don't enjoy the front flips?
You see the ground before it's coming, so you know.
That's true.
You might
That's
get
true.
hurt.
When I was younger, I not mastered, but I ended up learning how to do a backflip before the front flip. And then what I kept for the longest was the front flip. Like the backflip just ended up going away really, really quickly.
Way.
There's no way I could imagine myself doing a backflip now.
Oh, I was like, can you still
No.
do it? Can you at least do a front flip?
I think if I tried, I probably could.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a go sometime. I'll put it up on TikTok, and it better get like 1 million views if I actually land
I
it.
just feel like, you know, people don't need to see it, but they'd probably enjoy seeing it.
Yeah, they enjoy seeing the attempt.
Yeah.
Because it's the whole story of the attempt, as opposed to like the doing. It'll be like, okay, whatever. But if I'm like talking about it and going like, okay, I'm gonna do the front flip, but I don't really know about it. I might smash my face. Then it's like you're building some tension. People enjoy it.
Exactly.
Okay, backflip. I like it. What does a perfect day look like for you? If you could imagine perfect day, no isolation, what does that look like?
All right, you get up very early, maybe a sunrise hike.
Yeah.
And then I generally like to go to the gym for maybe an hour, just to get like the hurt in my legs. And
that's such a good way to term it, the hurt in your legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd go get some food with some friends, you know, chill out for a little bit, maybe on the beach.
Yeah.
And then I would maybe go to a relaxed atmosphere, maybe like lying next to the beach in one of those like little pool gazebo things, and chill around with music and friends. That would be the perfect day.
That's definitely, you've got some Byron Bay genetics within you there.
Vibes,
yeah. This is more like a goal question. So do you have like a short-term and a long-term goal that you have in your mind that you could share with us?
Ooh, short term is to get my house built.
Yep.
So by Christmas, because I want to be able to have Christmas in my house.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing for 25 years old too. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's good. And long term, I want to obviously do nutrition and dietetics, so that will take 4 years.
Yeah.
But long term, you know, get my house built, have some kids, live a happy life, and then retire. You know, just chill, have a few backyard animals, and
It's interesting. I was going to say it's interesting with the long term when, you know, sometimes people can get not angry, but they're just a little bit like confused. Oh, why do people just want to do that? Like just want to have a house and this simple life and happiness. But I think people don't understand that's totally a thing. Like individuals can be happy. It's whatever makes you happy that you should go and strive for. And so if that's the thing that's like, no, that would be to me like a very successful life to do that. It's like, for sure, do that. Like you shouldn't be persuaded just because someone says that you should be, I don't know, an Instagram superstar or a movie actor or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It should be to you to be like, okay, that's what I want to do. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah. Anything above that is just like a bonus, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. An interesting one. There was anyone in history, so it could be living or dead, that you could have like a one-to-one conversation for about a day or for whatever. Who do you reckon it could be, and why would you choose them?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know.
Or it could be someone like now, someone that you see yourself as like, okay, that's probably a pretty cool person I'd want to actually speak to.
Oh, I love, I don't know how you say her name. Michelle Levin.
From fitness?
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's
okay.
Like a famous like Brazilian fitness person overseas.
Right, okay.
And her legs are so big, and she has like the smallest waist.
Yeah.
And like, I swear to God, Brazilians are another
Brazilian
kind.
genetics.
Oh my gosh, they're just like amazing physiques. And like, how do they do that? Like, I just don't understand. So I'd like to just pick her brain about training and stuff.
Nice. My last question I got there is to you. Who's the most successful person that you know?
Ooh.
It's an interesting one.
This is hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Or who would be the most successful person in your mind?
All right, at the moment, straight out, like my brother.
Nice. Okay. Why would you say that?
Yeah. He's got a double degree in computer IT science. He works for a big company. He's just about to get a house as well in Melbourne, and he's just like, he just kicks it at life. Hey, just kills it, and I feel like he's gone places. You know, he has already been places. He travels for work. Back in the day, and the company that he works for is just amazing. They just pay him to go overseas
to all sort of places
and stuff. Yeah, and I'm like, that's so awesome. Like, I'd like that opportunity, but look, we getting there eventually.
There you go. It's interesting asking that question, because a lot of people will say, you know, you can have really like big ideas and being like, oh well, I think
Bill Gates or Obama or Michelle Obama, like that sort of level. But sometimes I do hear the answer where it's someone like their mum or their brother, because they're doing exactly what it is that they want to do. Like to them, that's success, and seeing that so close and being like, look, they're happy doing whatever they want to do. Awesome.
I feel that. Hey, yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's all really all the questions I had. From your perspective, is there stuff that you want to share to listeners? So obviously it's going to be from our podcast, from everywhere, we're going to share it as well, that you would want people to know about? Like a message that you wanted to know about. Or if not, where can people actually find you to go and contact you if they need to?
So the first one, I just want everyone to be happy and live their best life. Like I feel like everything that you're meant to do is what you're meant to do, I guess. As in everything happens for a reason. So, you know, don't get obsessed if something doesn't happen your way or it doesn't happen straight away, because, you know, it'll come eventually. And I feel like people just need to care less about what other people think, like put themselves out there more, you know, to do what they want to do and achieve what they want to achieve in their lifetime. And positive vibes always win the day. In the second bit, you can find me on Instagram, KAYTLYN Poole. You spell it really
Spell it correctly, KAYTLYN.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right. And then TikTok, KAYTLYN Poole Official.
I like that it's got the official next to it. That is cool. That's when you know that you're like at a certain level of size. It's got the official title next to it.
I was like, at first I changed it to that and I was like, is this silly? And I was like, nah, I'm going to do it anyway.
It's interesting to see. You're probably going to get people who are not copying, but are going to start, you know, creating the sort of side accounts where it's like KAYTLYN Poole _2 or something. And then you'll be like, okay.
It's so true. That's already happened to me.
Oh, has it? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, some really weird things happen when you get like
a fair few followers. Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine going to like Charlie D'Amelio's or some other level where it's like 50 million people. All of a sudden it's like, okay, there's a whole nother level of people knowing you and finding out things and whatnot. So
yeah, exactly.
Excellent. KAYTLYN, look, amazing. Thank you very much for joining us to have a bit of a discussion. I think this was as having an interview with people, and I'm like, oh, you know, I wonder how much I'm going to be able to discuss with her because I don't really know these individuals. But in the end, super easy to talk to you. So that's a good thing. So I definitely recommend people go and check out KAYTLYN on Instagram. I know that you also have a Twitter, but you're definitely not predominantly on Twitter. I can definitely say that.
I just got it, and I think I have like 27 followers, so no worries.
Yeah. So at least by the next time if you check out her Twitter, you'll definitely have to go in there and follow her so she can catch up to TikTok levels. But
hopefully I have 30 next time.
No, definitely thank you for your time. And we'll speak to you, I'm sure, at some other time.
Okay.
Thank you.
No